Hey guys, welcome to the live webinar on intuition or ego. I have so much information to give you. I'm so excited, and I'm so excited to do this with you live. So I'm going to say this a couple of times, and even if you're watching back, I want to be able to give you a minute to do a couple of things when you get on here. First, I want you to have a pen and paper handy, all right? Second, what I'm gonna do right now in the comments in this video is I'm going to post the link to be able to follow along with me on the presentation if you wanna watch the slides as I'm talking to you. So let's see, let me post that for you right now. Being able to follow along at the same time, I think it'll make life easier. So let me, as you're coming in, I'm just gonna share that right in the group right now. So follow along on the slides. Okay, so that link, I just posted it into the group here. Boom. Awesome. So you can grab that link, and as I'm talking, you can follow along yourself on the Google slide presentation, and then that link will allow you to have that presentation forever. So that's all information that you can have and you can refer to at any time. So let's just make sure everyone's getting in here okay. Say hi when you get here. Even if you're watching the replay, I would love to know that you're here and that you can hear me and all of that good stuff. I can see some of you. Hey Kate, hey Nancy, hey Matt. So pen and paper, and grab that link so that you can follow along with the slides with us, and we're going to get started in just a minute. So one thing that I'd love to know as you guys are popping on here, I'd love to know a little bit about how you feel, hey Sharon, how you feel about your own intuition. Do you feel like you rely on it, like you're really comfortable with it? Do you feel like it's this foreign, difficult thing for you to work with? Like, tell me a little bit about how you feel with it. How much do you trust it? I would love to know all of those things. So please fill me in with that too. Let's see. So I can't find the live video on my computer to post it as a comment, but Sharon, I know that you're here. If you don't mind posting that link that I just posted in the webinar in the comments here, that would be great. I would appreciate that super much. So you guys can look for that. Okay, so let's get this show on the road, shall we? So if you're following along with the presentation, we're just going to start on the first one. It's called the Intuition and Free Ego webinar that you're going to see. If you don't want to follow along, if you're like, no, I just want to stare at you, Heather, or I'm doing something else, then that's fine. You can just listen or you can just watch. But if you want to have something like a visual, if you're one of those people who likes to look at the information, you can definitely pop onto that link, and then you can just follow along on the slides as I'm going, and I will tell you when I'm going to the next slide. Okay, so let's get going. So let's click to the next one if you're with me, and we're on the What is Intuition page. So what is intuition? People think intuition is fortune telling, and intuition is not fortune telling. It's not even close. That's far from what intuition really is. It's a little piece of it. You could use it for that if you want. If you know me at all, you know I'm not a big fan of that. I feel like it's very disempowering, and I love using intuition and understanding ego to empower you in your life, to feel like you're in the driver's seat, you're making stuff happen. So the official definition for intuition is knowing without conscious reasoning. Hey Nancy, yes, you are in the right place. Hey Kristen. So knowing without conscious reasoning. So you haven't reasoned it out, you haven't thought it out, you just know, right? And an example of that would be getting an idea. Now, if you are an idea person, I am. My friends will joke with me and my family that like every third sentence out of my mouth is, oh, I have an idea. I love coming up with new ideas. But if you're an idea person, or if you've ever had to really sit and focus and try to get an idea, you know that process is not a logical one where you can like, boom, get an idea like by sitting. Oh, thank you for that link, Sharon. By sitting and really focusing on it, right? You have to be able to just allow space for it. Now you can think stuff out, you can like really try, but honestly an idea is just gonna come and it's gonna hit you when it's ready to. And so putting yourself in an open space is how you're gonna do that, okay? Hey Patricia. It is the energy of love. We're going to get to ego in a minute. Ego is the energy of fear, but intuition is the energy of love. So one of the things that I work with my clients on all the time is the actions that you're taking. Are they being motivated and inspired by love, or are they being motivated and inspired by fear? If fear is playing a part, you're going to get really, really stuck in your life. If fear is the motivator for your decisions, you're going to be in trouble. You're going to feel really, really stuck. So this is why we want to really focus on having the motivator for the things that we do be love and be intuition. And we're going to consult fear. We're going to consult our ego. We'll get to that in a minute. But we don't want everything to be motivated from that place. Things motivated in fear, I'm going to make up a figure 99.9% of the time end in disaster. It doesn't go well. You don't get there. Now, you can start something that was motivated in fear and bring it to love. You can change it, but you can't leave it in fear and get any kind of success, okay? It comes from your soul. So when we get to ego, we're going to talk about how that comes from your mind, but intuition comes from your soul, all right? You can't like really point to one area in your body where it comes from because it's not a physical thing, but it just comes to you, okay? It's all, your intuition's favorite thing is oneness and connection. We are all one. We are all connected, right? That's what your intuition feels. And that's, you know, when you're empaths, which is my term for people who are energy sensitive, and who feel other people's feelings, we can't watch the news, right? If you can't watch the news, if you're like me, like just give me a thumbs up or a heart or be like, yep, that's me. And the reason is because when we watch it, we see these really bad, sad stories, and it feels as if it's happening to us when we're watching it, right? Even if it has nothing to do with us, it really resonates with us, and we feel it on this other level. It's not just like, oh, I feel sorry that happened to that other person. It's like, oh my God, I feel all the emotions that person's feeling right now. And it's terrible, right? Nobody likes that. Yeah, I can see all the hearts and stuff. Yeah, that's a tough thing, right? So intuition is something important to understand, but you have to know, like in a situation like that, you have to protect yourself because you're going to feel other people's stuff. And that's just an example of how we really are all connected, right? And when we get to ego, we're going to talk about how ego thinks the opposite and tries to drive you in that direction. But your intuition will always lead you to ways that shows that we're all alike, we're all one, we're all connected. And then your intuition's job, believe it or not, is not fortune telling. It's not speaking to the dead. It's not talking to angels, not pulling angel cards. You know, I love those last three things. They're a huge part of my job. I love that. But that's not intuition's job. That's a part of intuition. But your intuition's job is to bring you fulfillment, especially emotional fulfillment, to feel really good in your life, to be happy, to grow, to find and live in your purpose. All right. That's your intuition's job. I know a bunch of you are just popping in, so there's a link if you want to click that's in the comments. It's also just right in the event where you can follow along with the slides if you want to, so feel free to grab onto that. All right, let's talk about how your intuition sounds. I get asked this all the time, like, I had this thing pop into my head, Heather, and I can't tell if it was intuition or if it was ego. And so how do I tell the difference? I got you. It's very easy, all right? And the more you do this and the more aware of it you are and the more you practice with this, you're going to be like, that they're not even close to sounding the same. Once you know, it's like a whole different ballgame. So your intuition answers first. So your intuition is usually bringing you something. So sometimes it's an answer to a question, like if you're asking for guidance, but most of the time when you're asking your intuition something, it's already told you. Like that's why you're asking, because it's already brought something up to you. But it's sort of all of a sudden just like a boom, you know this, okay? It speaks once and it speaks quietly. It does not keep repeating itself. It does not drum up emotion. It doesn't care to do that. It just shows up. It's like, here you go, boop, deal with it. And you know it's true right away. As soon as that intuitive information hits you, even if you don't like it, it's like super uncomfortable. You're like, oh my gosh, I don't like that intuitive hit of information. That's a terrible download. Oh my God, that feeling. But you know it's true, okay? And ego is quite the opposite. We'll get to that in a second. All right, I'm going to go on to the next slide if you're following along with the slides. So what is ego? So the official definition, are you ready? Webster's Dictionary, conscious thinking, a person's sense of self-esteem and importance. All right. So listen, a lot of people, I see the posts on Facebook and the quotes and stuff where they're like, don't live in ego, kill the ego, get rid of ego. You guys, that's a terrible idea. You need your ego. The problem is that we live in a culture that really celebrates ego, and you've been raised to use your ego. And so your ego muscles are super strong, and they're really ruling your life. And your intuition muscles, you've been taught that intuition is wrong or silly or fraudulent or evil or bad. Like, you've been taught all of these things. Don't get me started on wine. I'll probably hint at it throughout. It's another webinar. But you've been taught that. So those muscles are weak. So if you're looking at that and you're thinking, yeah, I've been taught that societally, that's a lot more important on ego. So when instead of beating myself up when I hear all these things that Heather's about to say, that I really live my life based in ego, I'm going to be open, and I'm going to know this is easy to shift. You can definitely change this. It's easy, like steps wise. It's difficult because you got to face your own shit, right? You got to step into it. Okay. So an example of ego is a thought about yourself. So like a question like, what should I wear today? All right. So a thought about yourself, and especially one that has to do with how other people might receive you. Okay. It's the energy of fear. Fear, 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 fear. Your ego is all about fear. In particular, fear of like fitting in, being okay with your peers, being loved and accepted. It comes from your mind. So remember, your intuition comes from your soul. Your ego comes from your mind. It is your mind. It's all about separation and disconnection. So where your intuition is like this hippie that's meditating, chanting "We are one," your ego is like that paranoid girl at a party that's like, everybody doesn't like me here. This is bad. This is like, I'm paranoid that something terrible is going to happen all the time. That's your ego. Okay. Now listen, you need both. If you only operate in intuition, you'll probably be happy for like a good hot minute, but then you'll be dead because you're not paying attention to keeping yourself alive. But if you're only operating in ego, which a lot of people are, they're barely operating in intuition, you're going to be really safe in your life, but you're going to be really unhappy, and you're going to be very stuck because your ego prefers you stay where you are because it knows, it has evidence. Your ego loves evidence. It knows it can survive where you are right now. Okay. Its job is to keep you safe and protected from pain, physical pain, but even more so emotional pain. That's much more important to your ego, and to keep you alive, because it's really hard to like fulfill your purpose and to live a happy life if you're dead. So your ego wants you to like stay alive in this life. How it sounds. All right. It responds to your intuition. Your ego answers second. So your intuition says something, you get rocked for a second. You're like, whoa, that's huge. And you take a breath, and then your ego pipes in. It's like, well, here's my list of concerns with that, Missy. That's what your ego does. It's loud. It's repetitive. It keeps, oh my gosh, the thoughts just keep circling around and around and around. That's your ego, baby. Intuition doesn't do that. It just says it once. It knows it's right, and it just walks away. Your ego keeps going. It drums up lots of emotion. Oh my gosh. Does it put you through the emotional roller coaster? Good Lord. It throws everything it's got at you. And the reason for that is because it's trying to give you a heads up at what emotional pain could be in your future if you do this. It doesn't mean it's going to happen. Your ego is a total liar. It just tells stories, none of which have actually happened. But that's its job, is to bring that stuff up for you. And I think that's the reason that a lot of people get stuck when their ego is saying something, because they're afraid to lean into those emotions. Okay, we'll talk more about that in a minute. And again, it's not true. Nothing your ego says has happened yet. Okay, if you're following along with the slides, we're going to the next one. Okay, so if your life is a cup, all right, let's say your life is a beautiful coffee mug filled with coffee from Restoration Coffee. Shameless plug for you right there. If your life is the cup, your intuition's job is like, fill that cup. Let's get all the most amazing experiences and feelings and life stuff going on. Fill the cup with all the good stuff. Your ego would be like, let's protect the cup. Protect the cup at all costs. Make sure it's safe. Okay. So if that's the case, think about it for a minute. A lot of people are just focusing on protecting a very empty cup. A lot of people are living very safe lives. That's where I come in. That's where I love to pop in and say, let's shake this up. Let's keep you feeling safe, but let's take some chances on you. Let's get you feeling fulfilled and happy, because we don't place a lot of importance on that when we don't really celebrate intuition. And so it's really important to understand that and to start saying, I don't want to just keep this cup of mine, safe. I also want to fill it with stuff, because why protect an empty cup, right? Okay, if you're following along, we're going to the next slide. If you're looking, you see at the top of these slides is a picture of my best friend in the whole world, Tony Robbins. We high-fived once, so that to me means that we're best friends. All right, so these are his human needs. That's why I put a picture of him at the top. He came up with these, not me. If you're more familiar with like psychology and counseling, you know that there are different terms for them there, but they all match right up. You'll be able to follow along pretty easily. So your human needs, these are the needs that drive your intuition. This is what your intuition's always looking to fulfill in you. Okay. So the first one is love and connection. So that's one, because connection and love are the same thing, but connection's considered like the baby version of love. We need to add an extra word because we're so uncomfortable with the idea of like loving a stranger or loving someone that you've never met. So we have to add the word connection in. Again, that's a webinar for another day, but keep that in mind. So this is feeling connected to and loved by other human beings. And this is very important. And this is a very basic human need. Think back in the day, tribal culture, right? If you weren't feeling connected and loved and accepted by your tribe, then you would be cast out and you would be left alone, which is, chances are you weren't surviving that. So, we still have those like prehistoric brains in our heads. So we still think in that same way, and we're still very driven that way. So your intuition really wants you to make sure that you feel loved and connected, and your ego is going to chime in and really feed into that same one too. And feeling like other people are comfortable showing it to you and that you can also show it to other people really plays a big part in this category too. Significance, feeling important, worthy, and needed by other people, right? To be like, I play an important role in this life of mine. These people need me. That is a very important need that drives intuition for sure. Certainty, security, comfort, consistency. I'm going to have a paycheck at the end of the week. I'm going to have a house to sleep in, and it's going to be the same one or relatively the same. I'm going to show up and these things are going to be where I left them. That's consistency. That really is a comfort to humans. It's a human need we definitely have. But because we're humans and we're just bananas crazy, another human need is variety because we don't want too much consistency. We want some variety thrown in there too. We don't want to get bored, right? So feeling like there could be surprises, that there's variety, that there's spontaneity and newness and challenges for us to go through, we crave that as well. So your intuition's going to look and lead you to that. Growth, one of my faves. Emotional, intellectual, and spiritual development. Think about this for a minute. If you imagined, if I said to you, how would you feel if 1 year from today, you told me that your life looked and felt the exact same way that it feels today? If that is like, okay, it's not terrible, that's fine. If that feels like what it feels like to me, which is like, oh, death, oh my God, I can't even imagine that feeling. If that's how that is, then you really want to understand that growth is a majorly important human need for you, okay? And contribution, giving beyond ourselves, leaving a legacy and making a difference in the world. Like when I left an impact. I had a purpose here. I created some kind of movement, or I gave to the world in some way, is another human need. So we all always want all of these things. All humans want all of these, okay? All 6, all the time. But we have, and this can change at different points in your life, we have 2 that are our main drivers that really drive our behavior in a big way and drive us intuitively in a big way. So being able to identify your 2 is really important. So I would love in the comments, even if you're watching the replay of this, I would love for you to tell me what you think your top 1 or 2 of these might be. So I'll say them again. Love and connection, significance, certainty, variety, growth, and contribution. which ones are the biggest drivers for you? So for me, I already told you growth was one of them, and love and connection is the other one for me. Those two things will make me do many, many things. And I also can use that to my advantage. And so can you, when you know, like, okay, I need some motivation. Let me think about these two things. Let me think of the growth that will come with it. Let me think of the love and connection that, will come from that experience. Okay? Makes sense? So if you can think of what that is, and I would love to know if you feel comfortable posting that. Okay, so on to the next fear. So you saw there were 6 human needs. The next slide, I just revealed what's on it. Fears. There were 6 human needs that drive your intuition, but there are only 3 fears that drive your ego. Everything boils back down to these 3. So take a breath, because it's going to rock your world a little bit to know that everything that your ego is afraid of is one of these 3 beliefs, one of these 3 fears. Are you ready? Deep breath. Okay. So the first one, this is mine. This is like my number 1, not belonging. And this is fear of rejection. Okay. The second one is being found out, and we call that the fraud. So being considered a fraud by people. And the third is not being loved, which is also known as abandonment. Okay. Every single one of us fear all 3 of these all the time. Okay. These are always factors in our influencing our behavior, but you have one that throughout your entire life has played a bigger role than the other 2. And so looking at that and understanding that is really huge. So for me, not belonging and rejection, I feel like from the second I was born, that was an issue for me. It still is. And, I've become more comfortable with it because I get it and I understand it and I know that's my fear. But it's always going to be there, and it can be a helper to you if you understand it. All right, it really can. I use it all the time to aid me when I'm doing sessions with people, particularly the Unstuck sessions, which I have a deal for you at the end. If just stick in, and you'll get the code if you want the special deal. But in that, we really work on identifying which one, and I have some videos that go much more into detail with both the needs and the fears. If this is like, oh, I'm feeling this. If you can understand that, you can actually use it to your benefit. You can use it to empower yourself. And you can also take these things and know them not just for yourself, but you can detect them in other people. If you can understand what someone else's needs are that are driving them, or fears are that are driving them, you can much more, in a better way, in a more useful and helpful way, influence their behavior, okay, to their own benefit and to yours. So it's really helpful to know this stuff, okay? Sharon said growth and contribution are her 2 big ones. I can totally see that for you, girlfriend. I love that. Okay, so those are our fears. Think about that for a minute. Think about something that you're afraid of, or that you're thinking of doing, but you're scared right now. And think about how those 3 fears play a part in that. I would love to also know which one you feel like is your biggest one. People a lot of times will get confused, like it's either rejection or abandonment. How do I know which one? So I'm going to give you my party scenario. So imagine that you were invited to a party where you didn't know anybody, but everybody knew each other. And I want you to think about that scenario for a minute, and I want you to see where the fear comes in. If you're afraid of walking in the door and like nobody's going to talk to you, and you're going to feel awkward standing there, and people are going to give you dirty looks when you get there, if that's where your ego mind goes, then rejection is definitely your fear. If you fear like going in and maybe you like really make a good connection with somebody, and you're like excited and you feel like, oh my gosh, we could be friends. And then, 2 days later, they start ghosting you and they're not your friend anymore, then abandonment is yours. Okay, so that's a good way that you can tell the difference. And a little bit more about fraud is just that people will all of a sudden think, you say you know about this, or you're good at this, or that you're an authority in this, or you're qualified for this, but I don't think you are, because you made a mistake in, 1987 and I found out about it. All right, that would be fraud. Make sense? Okay, let's go on to the next slide. So our culture places a huge importance on ego, and I touched on this before, but I want to really talk to you about this a little bit more. Sharon said fraud. Yeah, absolutely. We've talked about that before, girlfriend, for sure. And you'll see people who have done the Unstuck program, well, they know these things about themselves. They're like, yep, this is one of the things that we really go through. Okay. I'm going to grab a sip of water. Hold on a second. Okay. So here's how our culture puts a lot of importance on ego. a real drive in really teaching people to be responsible. And what they mean by responsible is to make decisions that have a really safe outcome. So that's a very ego-driven behavior. And listen, it's not a bad thing to be responsible. I consider myself responsible. But when being responsible is more important than being happy, this is where we start to have an issue, okay? Self-worth. Even just this concept, this is a concept that egos have made up. All right, this is not a real thing. You can't be worthy of love because you are love. That's what you're made out of. That's what you are. You can't be worthy of something you already are. But that's how we work, right? We think we have these conditions on what we have to do or how we have to behave in order to receive love from people, which is just a very, I don't want to say silly ego concept because we all have to deal with it. But it doesn't make sense if you think about it that way, right? Popularity and acceptance. Oh, this one. With the age of social media being such a big thing, this has become really thrown off. And also the next one, which is judgment and comparison. So we've really gotten to a place where, getting approval from people is more important than being authentic. And I'll give you an example. If you've ever had something in your heart that you felt like you really wanted to share on Facebook, and that you thought, or Instagram or Twitter or whatever, and you thought, you know what, I don't think I'm going to share that because people might judge me, but I kind of want to share it because I think it might speak to some people and it might help some people and it would make me feel good if I shared that. And you don't share it because you're afraid somebody might not like it or somebody might judge you for it. That's a beautiful example of that, okay? Another one is, and we're all victims to this one. I'm a victim to this one. I'll fully cop to that. I just want you to think of the scenario. You take like the world's best selfie. Like you just took such a good selfie. Like it's weird. There was magical lighting in it. You look 10 years younger than normal and you just somehow did a cute pose where you don't look like a hot mess. And you post it on Facebook and it only gets 3 likes. And like for the rest of the day, you're just pissed, right? And then you're like, but that post I did like 3 days ago got more. Let me go look at that picture and see what went wrong. What's wrong with me? Am I ugly? Ugh. If that's happening, that's a big indicator of that. Now, I know that sounds silly, but we all want those likes, right? Like we all want those things. And sometimes we're trading our authenticity for that approval. And it can be sneaky. We don't even know what's happening, right? Another thing that, our culture puts a big importance is how we fit into the world, how one fits into the world. You can hear the separateness in that. You can hear the disconnection in that, right? How does one fit into the world? How do I fit into the world? Where do I fit in? Where do I go? You go right where you are, baby, right? Like you were called here to be you. And this idea that we have to fit in and be accepted by people everywhere is a really difficult thing for us, right? Make sense? Your ego creates stories, all right? So your ego is not using anything that's currently happening. It's taking energy from the past, things that have happened in your past, and it's propelling them into the future. And it's making you think that this could happen in the future. Here's one scenario of something that might happen in your future, all right? It hasn't even happened. It's not true. It's just one scenario. It's not meant to be taken as truth. It's meant to be taken as something to consider as you move towards the truth. Okay. It takes evidence from your past pain and puts it in the future. Make sense? Don't touch the red hot stove again. That hurt. All right. Let me explain this part. You remember when you're a little kid and you're this like little tiny kid, and you see the stove is like glowing red hot and you touch it and it burns you and you're like, oh my gosh, that hurts so bad. And so a few weeks go by and you come back into the kitchen and you see that red hot stove again. And you look and you're like, no, there's that red hot stove again. Oh my gosh, I'm not going to touch it. And you can like physically feel that pain in your hand again because you remember how bad that felt and you make a decision not to touch the stove again. The same thing happens emotionally. So your ego protected you that second time and helped you understand that even though it would feel kind of good to like go touch that glowing red hot thing you're curious about, it's also going to cause you pain and it's going to help you avoid that. Well, it's doing that with emotion. All right. So oh my gosh, that last relationship I was in was a doozy and, somebody asked me on a date and suddenly I feel all that pain again. I'm reminded of it. It's not to stop you. It's to remind you to proceed with caution. There's potential for emotional pain here. It's not saying stop. It's saying consider these factors as you move forward. Make sense? It's meant to be an opportunity to remove a limitation or shift tactics. All right. So what can you do? Where are you limited? What can you shift and change in your life to move through this fear in a better way? So if your intuition tells you to start your own business and you really are excited about it, and your ego's like, that sounds all well and good, but here's a list of my concerns. Everyone's going to judge you. No one's going to sign up for it. People are going to get mad at you and not want to be on your news feed and Facebook anymore because you posted a work thing. God forbid. What are you supposed to post? Like a picture of your lunch instead? Who cares? Post your work stuff. Don't. I know. A webinar for another day. You start to fear these things. How am I going to make enough money? How am I going to do these things? Your ego's bringing these things up. And then if you quit there because that got uncomfortable for a minute, bummer, right? You're never going to be happy. You're going to have that like what if going on and like just sitting in your heart. Oh my gosh, for the rest of your life, it's going to be hard and terrible. But if you say, okay, let me look at these fears and see what they're trying to tell me. I think I have some limits in how I believe right now. What can I do to work on those as I move towards this? What are some of the things I should consider? Well, here's this money fear that I have to do this. So what are some ways that I can make extra money while I'm doing it? Or what are some ways that I can put this out there to help bring in money when I'm doing it, right? These things can help you. When I first went to start my own business, like a lot of years ago, like 8 years ago now, good grief. I had 2 tiny little babies at home and I almost didn't do it. My intuition wanted me to do it, but my fear was like, how on earth are you going to be a good mother and run a business? Because I can't do anything I can't half-ass anything. I put my whole ass into everything. I'm 110% at whatever I do. And so I knew I would need to give 110% to both of these things if I was going to do it. And I just thought, I don't think I'm capable. And I almost didn't do it for that reason. But I did it I have a very supportive husband and some very supportive people in my life. I'm very lucky who were like, go do it. And I did. And I took that fear of not being able to be a good mother and I really pushed myself in being able to balance motherhood and work and to keep them both on the plate. And because I did that, one of the things I do now is help other women do that because I figured out great ways to make that work. Okay. So that was a huge helper for me because it opened me up to this whole other thing that I could teach to people that would be beneficial. And now I'm doing this and when I first started in the business world, in the self-help world, the model of what you do as a woman is work yourself near to death, have your family basically leave you because you don't pay any attention to them. You're just about to die. Check yourself into like a rehab facility and then come back and say, I'm going to work less. And I was like, I don't want to follow that pattern. So I didn't. All right. And so those things can help you not get stuck in those traps that your ego sees and fears. Make sense? Okay. And a limit, so it brings up your limits. It brings up these limitations that we have. It's something that separates you from other people, you from your goal, you from your own power. Okay? All right, on to the next slide. Ideally, your intuition and your ego work together. This is what we do a lot of work on in the Unstuck package in your momentum sessions. I'll talk about that at the end. So your intuition should be your decision maker. It should be your source for creativity. Knowing how to heal or grow, oh my gosh, your intuition knows all of that. You know that your body, every time it has an ailment, your body knows exactly what it needs to heal it. You just have to learn to intuitively tap in and find that out. I know people are like, what? That's making it sound so simple. It's not always easy to get the answer, but your body does know what it needs all the time. Finding fulfillment and happiness in life. Yes. Bringing you more love and connection with people, guides you to grow, change, and evolve. So think about those things for a minute. Think about how your life is in those categories and making decisions and feeling creative and knowing how to heal or grow, knowing what you need, having the tools you need and the things you need and resources show up to support you. Feeling love and connected to other people and to groups of people. Feeling like you can grow, change, and evolve when you want and feeling like you're in your purpose. How is your life in that way? Give yourself a rating. How you doing? 10 being like, I'm an intuition rock star, don't even talk to me. And 1 being like, I can't even think of any times I've ever done that in my life. So think of that range and just give yourself a little rating. Where are you in those things? If you're low, we need to get your intuition really feeling stronger and trusted more. Okay. If you're feeling like, well, I do these things, but I don't take a lot of action with them. I don't have a lot of the things in my life going, or I don't have them at the level I want. And we just need to do some tweaking to get that to be a little bit stronger. Let's talk about your ego. Your ego points out safety concerns. So your ego came up with this, your intuition came up with this, beautiful idea, thing to go on this path, awesome decision. And your ego goes, great, that looks good. Here's all the things we're concerned about when it comes to your emotional safety. All right. It's not telling you to stop. It's giving you a heads up. One of my favorite, my best friend, Tony Robbins, one of my favorite quotes of his is, make fear your counselor, not your jailer. Use that information, that fear, to help you go towards what you want in a better way. Okay. To point out the potential for pain. Hey, you're feeling a lot of emotion. You're feeling really scared here. There's probably a big potential for pain. All right. That's okay. Lean in. It's also probably a big potential for joy and happiness too, right? It's a gauge for your own limitations. So in the Unstuck package, we work a lot on getting rid of these limits and moving these limitations out of the way and transforming them, using them to help you instead of roadblocks for you. So your ego's kind of a gauge and telling you that. And it's also waving a little warning flag for you, you need support here. You need to believe in yourself a little bit more. You need to change your relationship to money. You need to change how you feel about being powerful. You need to change the way you look at love. You have a belief that, this has to equal that, or that this bad thing's going to happen when this good thing does. Let's use this fear coming up as a little flag saying, hey, let's look over here and do some work. Okay. Make sense? Your ego is bringing you fear so you will address it, not so you will avoid it and go hide in the corner like this. It's saying address this, okay? Not avoid and not do. It guides you to stay put. All right, your ego wants you to stay where you are. Stay here, we know you can survive. Your intuition's go beyond and do things you've never done before. So having that balance is helpful. Okay, on to the next slide. Symptoms of ego having too much power. And before I continue on too much further here, if you have questions, if you want to start posting them, I know people have been posting already and I will scroll through and look at the end. Feel free. Any questions that you have, I will absolutely answer here live for you. I'm happy to do that. Symptoms of your ego having too much power. So here's what's going on in your life if your ego is really running the show too much. Your motivation for taking action, or maybe for not taking action, is fear. So if you said, okay, I'm doing these things, and I said, well, what's motivating you to do that? You would give me a fear-based answer. We would know your ego was running the show. If you said, I really want to do this thing, but I'm not doing it. I'm just stuck and I'm sitting at home not doing anything. And I said, why? And you said, oh, because I'm afraid of this, this, and this. Then again, we know your ego is taking the upper hand here. It's trying to make your decisions for you, which is not its job, okay? If you have a lack mentality, I have been kicking people's asses with this one in the Unstuck package and the momentum sessions, coming from a place of expecting there to always be lack. If this is you, there is going to always be lack. This is a big ego thing. It's very hard to create more abundance than just what you need to survive when you have a lack mentality, okay? So we want to get you to an abundance mentality. It's a switch that's easier than you think. You just have to shift the way you have a relationship with money. I love doing that with people. We can definitely do that in the Unstuck package if you want. I'll talk more about that in a minute. If you martyr yourself for others, if that's something you do quite often, if you say, at my own expense, I will help other people. If that's something you're always doing, you're like the martyr of your friend group or your family or whatever, then relationship, any of those things, then that means your ego is really in charge because it's worried that if you stand up for what you want, you won't be loved, or your self-worth is connected to serving other people, then you don't feel good about yourself when you serve yourself. In that, my friends, I used to be the president of that club or the queen of that club, maybe. That's a quick trip to Disasterville, to burnout, to depression, to a not good place. So you really want to focus on doing work in that area as soon as possible if you're suffering from that. And we can definitely do that in the sessions. You place more importance on acceptance by others than by fulfilling your own needs. So I'd rather have other people's approval than fulfill a need I have to either use my voice or speak out or do what I want to do. All right, that means your ego is running the show. Again, lack of abundance. If you don't have a lot of not just money, but you don't have a lot of friends, you don't have a lot of clients, you don't have a lot of opportunities, you don't have a lot of good things going on in your life, hobbies, any of those kinds of things, that means your ego is in charge. Self-worth issues. We talked about this before, this made up concept that you aren't already loved, right? That's a definite show or definite sign to me that we need to work on bringing more of your intuition up and feeling powerful and shifting your ego back into the role it's meant to have. If you just don't feel happy and fulfilled. Now listen, you can have a lot of good things in your life and you can have a lot of good things in your life that make you happy, but that doesn't mean that you're happy at the level you want, that you feel fulfilled everywhere. And so if that's what that is, if that feeling of not being fulfilled, that naggy feeling that is going on, then we know ego is running the show, because your intuition is always driving you to the things that feel good. All right? Make sense? If you dislike change, oh my gosh, I hate change. That makes no sense. You're a human being. Things are always changing. Always. The whole world has already changed in 1 second, right? Like everything is different all the time, and humans are designed to evolve and change constantly. So people who fear change happening, not just that maybe don't like it, but actually get afraid of change, that is a big sign that your ego is running the show. You see your life as happening to you, not for you. So we call this the victim versus warrior mentality. If you've ever done a session with me, I have probably yelled at you for saying something in victim mentality. And that's because that's ego-based. Warriors believe that the world is happening for them. They know there's problems and there's hard stuff out there, but they are going to get through it. They're going to lean into it and they're going to work through it, and they're going to turn around and help others through it too and lead by example. That's a warrior mindset. A victim mindset is, why is this happening to me? The universe hates me. Why is it punishing me? The universe is a jerk. That is victim mindset. And that just brings in a less powerful energy for you. And so the universe supports you in whatever you put out. So if you're saying, I have no power in this world, stuff just happens to me, it's not being called, I'm not calling it all to me, then the universe goes, okay, let's give you more things that don't make you feel powerful. But if you're like, this sucks, donkey balls, but I'm going to lean into it and I'm going to learn from it and I am going to be okay. I am doing this. Even if you have a meltdown for 20 minutes and then you get to that attitude, you're going to do just fine. The universe is going to support you through that. And you're going to just feel so much better. Okay? Feeling powerless and you play the blame game. Everything is somebody else's fault, or that occurrence's fault, or that building's fault, or that angel over there's fault, or the universe's fault. If you're blaming other things and other people a lot, that means your ego is really in charge and running the show. If you always see yourself as disconnected from others and you're always trying to connect to them, that feeling that you have to do something like big or beyond yourself or beyond normal to feel connected to somebody, that's a sign that your ego is in charge, okay? Because you already are connected. Overly judging yourself and others, ego. That judgment is just always looking for separation and trying to render it or trying to adjust it or make it look different or appear different. And so that's ego behavior. Needing facts, proof, and evidence of everything. We all know someone like that, right? Who's like, okay, but show me 6 pages of documented scientific studies that that's true, right? Always needing that just means ego is really running the show for you. All right, on to the next slide here. So let's operate in balanced power. So we're almost done here. Let's operate in balanced can you still see me? Okay. Operate in balanced power. So you start to differentiate your intuitive voice and your ego voice. Huge step in doing this. So this is the first thing I want you to do. Really practice hearing the difference with the tools I gave you here tonight. Your intuition tells you the what. Your ego tells you the how, okay? So don't make decisions on which way you want to go based on what your ego is afraid of. Make it based on how you feel and what your intuition says. And then ask your ego, consult with it on how you should get to that point or how you shouldn't get to that point, okay? Don't take your ego stories as truth. They're not. These fears that you see and imagine have not happened. They are not real. So just know those fears aren't there to give you like, oh, this is the truth. This is exactly what's going to happen. Your fears are there to just give you a heads up that there's potential for pain, and you might want to take that into consideration when you're walking along the path towards the thing your intuition guided you to, okay? See fear as information and opportunity. not a stopping point. Like, oh, here's some information and an opportunity to use something to my own benefit. What you fear outside of yourself is an inner problem. So all of the things that you are afraid of that are happening outside are stuff that you're actually afraid of that you feel on the inside. So if you're afraid that people aren't going to like you, or if let's say you're afraid that you want to start your own business, but you're afraid that you won't have the ability to manage running a business and taking care of your family. That's not actually a fear of anything outside. That's a fear of your own power. Am I powerful enough and capable enough of doing that? So identifying that that's an inner problem is really, really helpful. Be a warrior, not a victim. We talked about that mindset, right? Really focus on that and really try, move through victim. You're allowed to swear at the universe and be mad when tough things happen, but try not to stay there for very long, because that's when you're going to start bringing in that like terrible trash bag energy, and we just don't want that around us. Do things scared but informed. All right, I love the hashtag do it scared. Everything I do, I'm scared when I do it, right? Like, that's okay. Do it, even if you're scared, do it anyways. But you're informed. Be informed. Listen to the fear and understand what it's actually trying to show you. Understand that the fears that are running through your ego and they're up in your conscious mind, imagine there's a big iceberg, right? And so the big majority of that iceberg is underwater and just a little bit sticking out. So that fear is just a symptom of a fear down deep below here. So either with me, you can do unstuck sessions, or you can just do the work yourself or with someone else. Really dig down and see what's really at the root of that fear, okay? Seek the need and fear driving your behavior. So remember those human needs I gave you and the 3 fears? See which one's driving you. See if you can identify them. Definitely gonna help you, okay? Sharon says, favorite hashtag, do it scared. Me too, friend. Don't just protect your life, live it. Why are you protecting an empty cup, right? Don't just protect a life you aren't living. Protect that life, but live it. Spend time protecting a really amazing full life. Okay. Find a coach or mentor to help you. It's hard to see your own stuff. Oh my gosh. I bet you can look over at someone else and be like, they're definitely being driven by this, and their fear is this, and I definitely think they should do this. But when it comes to you, you hear crickets. It's really hard to do your own. So have somebody help you, whether it's me or someone else. It's my favorite thing to do. My intuition works in a way where I immediately see the intuitive and ego energy and how it's operating in you. And I also see how to bring it to balance and how freaking powerful you can be when that happens. And so what we do is we do work to get you to the things that you want based on that. So it's really fun. And I have a gift for you along those lines that I'll give you to you in a minute. Seek others who actively work on themselves. Surround yourself with other people who are working to better themselves. That's the kind of people you want to be around. The people who aren't doing that work, as soon as you start to grow, they're going to start throwing tomatoes at you, because that's going to be hard for them to watch you grow when they're not, and they're going to hold you back. So be very aware of that. Commit to valuing your own needs and finding your purpose. Commit to that. You need to start valuing those needs, and you need to find your purpose so that you can feel really fulfilled in your life. It's not selfish at all, because you not having everything that you want, like a watered down version of you that's less happy, that's not a benefit to anybody. But you living your best life, feeling really fulfilled, having your cup runneth over, that version of you can give a lot more to other people. And that's the version you want to have show up for people, right? Okay, on to the next slide. We're almost done here. Tips for strengthening your intuition. Let me take a sip of water because my body is intuitively asking me for water. It's hard to talk for a living and then talk for an extra hour at night. But we do it because growth, right? I want people to grow. I want you to get this information. This is my purpose. Okay. Know your clairs. So C-L-A-I-R-S. Okay. So understanding these are your inner senses. So there's clairvoyance, which is inner seeing, clairaudience, hearing, clairsentience, which is feeling or sensing, clairtangency, which is touch, claircognizance, which is knowing, clairgustance, which is tasting. Have you ever just tasted these cookies that your grandmother used to make all of a sudden and be like, woo, Where did that come from? Clairalience, smelling. Okay, so understanding that you have these outer senses, but you have a set of inner senses as well, and understanding and starting to play around with those and seeing which ones are strongest for you. Everybody has them, and everyone has different ones that are stronger. Okay, even those people who want evidence and proof for everything, they have them too. Don't try and prove yourself. Try to be present with yourself. There's no wrong answer. When I teach people how to do intuitive readings in whatever way that they're doing them, they're tapping in and getting information and passing it to other people. The first lesson that I teach them is do not try to prove to anybody that you're right, or that you're tapping in, or that you're some magical unicorn that can do this. You are a magical unicorn. Don't try to prove it. That's ego, trying to prove that you've got something. That makes it about you. Just take in the information and pass it on, and trust that it'll connect in the right way. There's no wrong answer, and there's no wrong path. Okay? For yourself, if you're like, I'm afraid to be wrong with my intuition, so what? Who's going to come? The intuition police going to come smack you on the hand? It's okay. There's no wrong path. There's just paths. Some are happier than others. So try to find the one that will make you the happiest. There's crap and barriers and shit on all of them that you got to go through. So go for the one that also has the most happiness, okay? Feel your feelings. They are your superpower. Don't buy into the idea that people who are sensitive and who feel a lot of things and who cry easily are weak. It's very much the opposite. Those are the strongest people in the whole entire world. Lean into those emotions and feel them. And oh my gosh, you just, a superhero cape will appear on your back, I swear. How do you shine best? Know the answer to that. What do you do? How do you operate? What are the things that you're doing where your energy really shines? And that's like your area of expertise. You love it. You could talk about it for days without getting sick of it. You know, it's the thing that really motivates you. Be able to find that answer. And if you don't know it, my gosh, come find me so I can help you. Seek your purpose. I'm telling you, even when life throws you like a crap loads of lemons, like lemons are smacking you in the eyeballs every 2 seconds. If you know your purpose, it is much easier to get through that. It feels much different, much better if you know that when you're going through that than if you don't. Okay, from experience, I can tell you that. Be a student and a teacher. Always be learning, and then whatever you learn, find a way to turn and pass it on and pay it forward and give it back to other people. Look at your own life as all of the struggles you've been through as a muse for you of what you're here to do, all right? Because you've been training your whole life for something. You've been through a ton of challenges and a lot of really hard things, and they have been training you for something that you are now an expert in. What is it? Know the answer to that. I love helping people find that answer, by the way, if you want some help. Bring awareness to your fears, not your judgments, okay? Just be aware of it. Don't be obsessed with judging it, all right? Use your intuition to face your own limitations instead of having the avoidance party where you just run away from that big giant elephant that's chasing you. No, turn around and, tame that elephant and get free rides, okay? Ask yourself daily, how do I feel and what do I want? And be able to answer those questions. Now listen, you don't always have to go get what you want, but you got to know what you want. And a lot of times when I do sessions with people, I'll say, okay, what is it that you want? If I am a genie and I could grant you any wish right now and give you something, what would you want? And they're like, If you don't know at least 3 things that come to mind really quick, that's having a huge impact on your ability to manifest awesome things. So you definitely need to work on that. Next slide. Okay, this is the last one. Thanks for hanging in. Okay, so a special offer to help you with all of this just because I want to, not because I need to. The Unstuck package, I just had to open up more spots because it filled up with the early bird special when I hadn't even officially launched it yet. It's that awesome of a deal. So what it is you get 4 momentum sessions with me, and they're each an hour long. Okay, 4 of them. We spread them out about every week and a half, every 2 weeks. And for an hour, we go, where are you stuck? What do you want to work on? Where do you want to get to? And we work on that. And you have homework, and I hold you accountable, and we get you there. We really pull you out of wherever you're stuck. It is so much fun. I love doing it so much. You also, on top of those 4 sessions with me, you get, which are already discounted, all right? Like you're already getting a discount on that. In addition to that, you also get videos on the human needs to understand them deeper and the fears to really take that to the next level and really understand those. And you get a meditation to help you move through, and the unstuck worksheets to really like go through and look at where you're stuck and be able to get a lot of clarity on those. So when you come into the sessions, you're like, okay, this is what we're going to do. I have helped people with all kinds of things, move forward with relationships, start their own businesses, take their businesses to the next level, start to seek their purpose, start to organize their house. I mean, you name it, wherever you're feeling stuck, I have helped somebody out of that situation. You know, try me. I'll give you a prize if you bring me something I have never done before. I will. I'll send you some kind of present. So check that out. And then I also, this is already like heavily discounted. I also have for you a $20 off coupon. So if you use the hashtag webinar, not the hashtag, the coupon code webinar in all caps, when you go to the link, which is in the slides, but it's embodylove.me/webinar, and I'll post that. If you use webinar as the coupon code, it will take another $20 off, another $20. So I'm going to tell you the price because I don't want to be all mysterious on you. So let's see. So it is $350. So it's valued at over $500. Just the 4 sessions alone are $100 a piece. And so it's already $350 with the sessions plus all the other stuff I'm giving you. And you can break that into 2 payments if you want. So it would be 2 payments of $175. I'll take $20 off of that if you use the coupon code webinar, which is bananas crazy of me, but I really want to give you something that will help you. So yes, so check that out. The $20 off is good until Friday. I don't want to make it like, do it now. You have no time to think about it. But these, I have to like keep adding more time slots in my schedule for them, and I want you to get in if you want. So just use that coupon code. Make sure you use it by Friday at midnight. I'll leave it open till then to get the $20 off. All right. After that, you can still jump in if there are spots available, but that's when the $20 off. So I wanted you to have a couple days to think about it. I wanted you to have a chance to message me or email me if you have questions about doing it, but I would really love to do it with you. So yeah, so let me post, I'm going to post it right in the event. It's not letting me post on the video right now, but here's, I'll just post the link and then I'll post it a little bit nicer in a minute, to the Unstuck package. So it's embodylove.me/unstuck. And then you can go in and you can use coupon code webinar to get the additional $20 off. Okay. Let's see. I think I just posted that for you. The link just posted at the top, and I'll put it with a picture in a minute so that it looks fancier. But there you go. Okay. So let me go through and see if there are questions here. If you're thinking of some, feel free to post them now. If you're watching and you're not live, you can definitely send me a message with a question and I would be happy to answer it for you. Okay, water down. Let me see. Cassandra says that she's late. I'll catch up on what you missed tomorrow. Absolutely. So this video will stay in the group. And then tomorrow it'll also be, the link to this video will be emailed to you. So you can send it to other people if you want. You can keep it for yourself. You can watch it every day. You can watch it in 6 months. It doesn't matter to me. Use it. I want you to have it and I want you to use it. Oh, Nancy lost us for a minute, but looks like she's back in. So that's good. Okay. Okay, so I'll keep this open for another minute to see if there are any questions. Thank you, Matt, for posting that link for me. I appreciate it. So now right in the video is the link to the Unstuck package. So you can just pop right into there and check that out if you want. And I'll also, in the email that I send out tomorrow with the link to this video, I will put the coupon code for the $20 off as well, so that you can do that, and I'll add the link into that as well, so you can take advantage. Now, if you haven't entered your email, you just like hopped into this event because you saw it and you just clicked in, make sure that you enter your email into the place on embodylove.me/webinar, or just message me with it if you haven't done that, so that you make sure you get the video replay and all the information on the package. Okay. All right. So again, feel free to send in questions. I can see that I have a bunch of Facebook messages right now, so I will go in and check questions in there and answer them for you. between tonight and probably I'll get back to most people tomorrow with that. But please feel free to send them when you're thinking about this stuff. If you're watching the replay, any of those things, and you have a question about intuition and ego in your life or just in general, or about the Unstuck package, please let me know. I would be super happy to help you with that. All my sessions I do on video chat, so you can do them in your pajamas if you want. You don't have to leave home. You can do it on your lunch break, whatever works. We can do it that way. So I really try to make it convenient for you, and we also record them for you, record the audio so that you can always refer back and check them out. But I love doing them. They're so much fun, especially the Unstuck package, where we have 4 things that we're really focused on moving through and getting you somewhere. It's really exciting. So thank you for being here. Thank you for watching. Again, even if you're watching the replay, say hi to me that you're here. I would love to know. I'd love to know what you think of this information. I'd love to know what other classes and free webinars you'd love to see. I would love to hear all of that. And I would really love to help you get unstuck using these concepts. Okay? All right. I will see you guys soon. Feel free to post in the group on this thread or to send me a message or an email, and I'm happy to respond to you. All right. Have a great night. Bye. Thanks.